Hello, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the world premiere of Music is Life, and we want to thank you for joining us for a live Q&A. My name is Romeo Kalabong. I'm part of the creative team of the film, and I will be moderating the Q&A. I'm joined by the researchers and executive producers of the film, Drs. Christine Jonas-Simpson, Pia Contos, and Sherry Dupuy, the director of the film, Anthony Granny, and the music director, Simon Law. And as you may have noticed, we are all wearing blue. Today is World Alzheimer's Day, and we are wearing blue to share our support for people, families, and communities living with dementia. We will do our best to answer all of your questions, which you can submit to us by entering them in the chat. Please note that we are recording this Q&A, so your questions may be part of a video to be posted later on our YouTube channel, and this Q&A will not be used for research purposes. So while we wait for questions to come in, I'd like to hear from the team what made them decide to create the film.
I'll start. Thank you, Romeo. First of all, I would like to acknowledge two other research team members, Dr. Gail Mitchell, who was the inaugural director of the Beethoven Academy, as well as research associate Leslie Donovan. And along with our gratitude for the research grant from the Alzheimer's Society of Canada Research Program, we could not have conducted this research or created this film without the Beethoven Academy. So we are so grateful for the generosity and vision of the Beethoven family, for the organizational leadership of UHN and the academic leadership of York University. But most importantly, we were so grateful to the Beethoven Academy team who so beautifully embody the relational caring philosophy through music and the many arts. And we're also grateful to the whole Beethoven Academy community, the Academy members, their families, friends, volunteers, students, and as Velta said, the drivers. Everyone makes up this beautiful community, and we're so grateful to them, and especially Sharu, Alan, Robert, and Simon for sharing their lives so openly with us in the film. And as I mentioned in the welcome message, our research is about exploring experiences of relational caring through musical engagement and the meaning of music in our lives. And one of the objectives of our research was to also create a documentary to capture these experiences and the transformational impact of these experiences. Because as I mentioned in the film, most oftentimes music is used as an intervention or as therapy with persons living with dementia. And we wanted to show another approach beyond this. And in our film, Sarah Rose, the music therapist, spoke so beautifully about the difference, and she articulated this beautifully, where music therapy often has a goal to, whether it's reduce anxiety or agitation or pain. And these are really important and really require the skills and knowledge of a music therapist. While for the rest of us, we can all engage with music in a way that creatively expresses our humanity and connects us with one another and enhances our relationships and really enriches the lives of our whole community. So we're hoping that through this film, this approach to musical engagement will inspire others as well.
Yes, thanks, Christine. I can certainly add to that. I mean, that is certainly an important aspect of our research that we wanted to convey with the film. We also created the film as part of our commitment to challenging stigma associated with dementia. In our research at the Beethoven Wellness Academy, we saw so many different examples of imaginative, humorous, playful, and moving expressions through musical engagement, and the power of being part of a community that supports living well with dementia. And yet imagination, humor, playfulness, and deep engagement with community are not characteristics that are typically ascribed to people living with dementia. And this is because of stigma, because of the assumption that with dementia, you lose the ability to pursue meaningful relationships and activities, and that dementia is only loss and tragedy. So given how our work challenges this stigma and really exemplifies inclusive and meaningful engagement, we felt that it was imperative that we convey the work in a way that would make it accessible and engaging for audiences and inspiring. So, I mean, our focus is musical engagement and the many ways that it supports relationships. So we felt that seeing and hearing and feeling the music would be so critical to conveying this work, and documentary film allowed us to do just that.
Thank you for the question, Romeo. I think for me, over the past few decades, there have been just so many urgent calls around the world for the need for culture change in dementia care, to really reimagine how we support people living with dementia and their families in flourishing with dementia. These calls have emphasized the need for relational approaches that recognize how essential relationships are to the well-being of all human beings, to our communities, to our broader society and our environment. And thus they place compassionate relationships at the center of care and support. You know, this pandemic and certainly the Black Lives Matter movement have made these calls even more urgent by showing us how truly important connectedness is in our lives and the great harms that can result when relationships are not prioritized and difference is not valued. So Music is Life, both the research and the film, was important for me to do because it helps us to reimagine what the world could look like and support could look like for people with dementia when we ground our approach in relationships, when grounded in a philosophy that believes in the relational capacity of all human beings, no matter what illness or disability they might be experiencing. Recently, I had the great opportunity to watch a celebration in honor of the great Stephen Sondheim's 90th birthday. The host of the celebration, Raúl Esparza, said something that really captured the essence of this film for me, and I think Robert said it in the film as well. Raúl said, "The arts help us be fully ourselves." And I would add that the arts help us be fully ourselves together. I'm hoping that Music is Life contributes to the culture change movement we so need in dementia care by showing the possibilities of relating differently, supporting the essence of who we all are through the arts.
That's great. Thank you, Christine, Pia, and Sherry for that. We've got a question from our virtual audience. Are there other centers like the Beethoven in Ontario?
I'm not, hi, sorry, I was muted. We don't know of any other center that is an academy of teaching and learning for persons living with dementia, where we bring in practicing artists from the community to teach their craft. We really don't know of any other place that, and also that has the relational caring philosophy that underpins the medium of the arts as well.
Great. Obviously, music is such a huge part of the film. And Simon, as music director, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what music inspires you and maybe some of your musical heroes.
Oh, that's a very serendipitous question, because tonight is the 21st night of September. And for me, he's my mentor for sure. And I did actually work with him in the early 90s, Maurice White of Earth, Wind and Fire. And I think I've indoctrinated everybody at the Beethoven into Earth, Wind and Fire's music. but something spoke to me so much about their music from an early age. And, and their famous song, September, the first lines are, "Do you remember the 21st night of September?" And here we are with this film tonight. So, that's very deeply inspiring to me. But Maurice had this incredible wish that his music that he made with his band was medicine music. And he really sought to do that. That was his vision. It wasn't sort of an accident or something nice that happened. It was actually by design, and felt that that's what he wanted to do. And so I've taken a huge amount of inspiration from his life and his work, for sure. And I hope the bit in the song where everyone's singing "Body Up, Boyo" is an absolute nod to Maurice and Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Simon. So we've got another question from our virtual audience. Can you imagine a relational care model being more broadly used in healthcare? If so, where and how?
We would love it everywhere. I know certainly at UHN and under the direction of Dr. Joy Richards, who really embraces and supports this model, is something that I think that would be wonderful everywhere, because it's one thing that we found in our research at the Academy too, which is a little different than what we hear in other research around a relational care, is the piece around the caring. So there's reciprocity in the relational piece, right? And as Sherry always talks about, it's relational beyond human beings as well. So there's the relationship we have with music, there's a relationship we have with the universe, with nature, whatever it might be. But the caring piece we added from care in one of our studies, because we noticed at the Academy that the caring is also reciprocal. Our Academy members and family members also care for the team and the whole community at the Academy. I think it would be a beautiful theory and certainly there's from people that have done work in this area, Don and Barco, nurse therapists as well. Yes, I think it would be actually applicable to any setting.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, this is a philosophy about fully supporting the capacity for creativity, for imagination, for being, in relationship with others. And so at its core, it's about making relationships a priority and to making the arts central to supporting those relationships and creative self-expression and life enrichment. So I don't think that should be specific to people living with dementia. I think that it's fundamental to the human condition. And so everyone could benefit from that.
We've had funding through the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, also supported by Extendicare, that helped us to create a relational caring learning series. And we've actually piloted it in a number of homes. And healthcare professionals working in those healthcare spaces want this, but there are so many barriers and constraints in some other settings that make being in relationship, and of course that's just been exacerbated now with the pandemic, but they know that they can do their jobs better when they can be authentically in relationship with other human beings.
Thanks, Christine, Pia, and Sherry. Another question for you all is, what is the Dr. Bitov Academy doing since the pandemic started? Are they finding ways to continue some kind of programming?
Perhaps I should answer that. We're no longer open, unfortunately. The community that comes to the Bitov is vulnerable in this way. We're continuing quite a lot of online things, and as best we can to connect to everybody regularly. I know the same for all the other artists and the other folks working there. We all wish we could be starting back up again. It wouldn't be a wise thing to do right now because of the restrictions and everything and the health concern. But I think it's interesting how music can still reach. And I took part in a little an hour-long session the other day with Kristin, who is one of the people who works there, members of staff, and it was still lovely to share, albeit slightly slightly less than if we were all in the room together, but and I think we're discussing all kinds of ways that perhaps it could carry on in a slightly different way while we're still living in the pandemic sort of restrictions.
And people, Simon, can go to the website to find out that information, I believe.
Sure,
and it's
yes.
It's dotsabitov.com, or if you go to our Music is Live film website, there is a link to the Bitov Academy there as well.
Sure, yes.
And that's being updated. So.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Are you planning to do more research documented via film for other elements of the Bitov program?
This is actually our third film. And if you go on to the dotsabitov.com website, you will see one of our studies was around transgenerational learning at the Bitov Academy. And then the second film that we did, which was with Sherry and Pia and myself and Gail Mitchell, and it's on experiences of relational caring, and that's called Free to Be. And both of them are on the website when you look under research-based art.
Great, thanks, Christine.
And they're very short, and they can be used for educational purposes. As we're teaching, I'm a professor, and I find students really enjoy seeing what we're talking about. And that's what we're hoping the film will do as well, is that it's actually seeing the philosophy lived in practice with this beautiful team and community. And so that speaks volumes, really.
Do you have plans on submitting this film to festivals or other platforms to share this powerful film with others?
We were, of course, sharing about this launch with many people, and just, was it today or yesterday, I received an email from somebody asking us if we'd consider submitting it to a film festival. So that's our hope. It's tricky because some film festivals don't want you to actually have launched it before you go to a film festival. So that's been a bit challenging for us, because we really want it out there, and we want it helping people to reimagine how they can do dementia care and support differently. But yes, if there are film festivals out there that welcome films that have been launched, then we'll be looking into it for sure.
That's great. Anthony, as director of the film, how was working on this film different or the same as your other films?
This was a much more personal, a much more personal level film, where I got to tell the story of people. A lot of my previous documentaries have been telling larger stories of history or environment or things like that, which does still involve people. But this was an amazing experience where people, Kareem and Sharu, who I saw in the chat, are watching, so hello, and Alan and Myrna and Hazel and Robert and Simon also. They let us into their homes, and they let us into their lives. Usually when I interview someone, I'm interviewing them as a subject expert about science or something. But this was interviewing them about their lives and about the most personal parts of their lives. And it was amazing. And jumping back a little bit to that other question about if there's another documentary in the works, I'm just putting it out there that, I mean, I'm up for it if if anybody else is. I totally fell for all of those people. After I finished filming, I ended up going back to volunteer and be a guest artist occasionally at the Dotsabitov Academy. And I miss them. I miss them dearly. I'm glad some of the folks are out watching the film.
During sorry, if I can just say, to reiterate what you're saying, Anthony, during COVID, in sharing the film with the team members and the trailer, so many people, including myself, said the same thing, how we miss being together and that incredible and the things that we come to know that are so important in our relationships being so important during COVID, they seem to just be heightened and just so critically important. So again, can't wait till we can all be together again.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks, Anthony. We'll do one more question before we wrap up the Q&A. So how long did this film take to create, and what parts in particular will stay with you? Would you like to stay with you? Would you like to stay with those that watched it?
The film took 4 years, and that included the application for the grant through Alzheimer's Society Canada, and just how long it took us to. It took quite a while to create the film and the entire project. But I guess the takeaway that I'm hoping, I guess for me, what was surprising, even though I somehow know it innately, was how incredibly important music is to our humanity, and how incredibly important it is as a way to, as a medium for connecting with one another and for enhancing those relationships, and how that lingers on, and just how powerful it is. It was really, I remember one of the Academy members who was in our research, she just said, music has to be, and so I think coming to that understanding, and that each one of us can engage in this way, whether it's humming or listening to a song together and just being present with one another. So it's a way that we can connect with people. It's a beautiful way we can connect with people in a very enjoyable way, really, and very powerful way.
I knew from my own research with people living with dementia that the arts, powerfully support communication and creative self-expression and vitality. But for me, the added takeaway from this work is that it is what musical engagement actually means for people living with dementia, and how it brings them into relationship with others, and all of which has this incredible ripple effect on everyone. The staff express how impactful it is for them to work there. They see the possibilities, for having a meaningful life and relationships despite dementia, and found their ways of connecting to people living with dementia that they didn't think previously possible. So it really is a truly relational experience for everyone. And that for me is tied to another really important takeaway, which is, I think, the enormous potential that people living with dementia have for creative expression, and how that challenges, the stigma associated with dementia. I think I left this project feeling like we really need to have higher expectations of the imagination and creative spirit of people living with dementia, and to more fully support their humanity, with creativity being a fundamental dimension of that.
Yes, I would just like to add something about my takeaway. It's like the takeaway I have every time I come away from being at the bit of is like, wow, that was incredible. The way this beautiful thing, which I think we kind of probably all know in our hearts, that how special music is, but art in general, music kind of has this other little tangly bit that spreads out to everybody, and it's often kind of, even if it's a visual art piece or it's a program going on or it's a dance thing or something else, there'll be some music on somewhere, and it has this lovely way of wrapping everybody together. And I just, my takeaway is how how sort of profound that is, and it how I'd say to any artists watching this is how beautiful it sort of nourishes your own creativity as well. So it's this beautiful loop that goes round, and that's just extraordinarily powerful to me, and it's very sort of, it talks about how we're all we all are eventually one, you know, and we're linked in so many ways. And so all power to anybody trying to do this in any way. It's you know, it's incredibly powerful, and go for it. Any artists who want to get involved somehow, find a way, you know, there's lots of opportunities. And I really miss everybody at the Bit of terribly very much. So see you soon.
I think my key takeaway, and we have so many powerful quotes about this in our data, is what people with dementia give us in relationship. And I remember a particular quote about how one of the artists didn't like to dance, was quite vulnerable, and a person with dementia asked her to dance. And she talks about, and I also know this artist because she works closely with me, and she's spoken about this with me a lot too, but how in that moment of dancing and being vulnerable in that moment, that person with dementia helped her to see a part of herself that she hadn't seen before, and how that changed her and gave her a confidence that she now exudes, I think. And so there's so much that we can get from being in relationship with persons with dementia, but they're often not given that opportunity. You know, when we think of caregiver and care receiver, but we never just think of human beings in relationship with each other. And I think there's so many moments like that at the Bitoff, where the people living with dementia actually give the people around them so much more than maybe the team there give the people with dementia, although they're all brilliant and warm people. But that to me is something that will stick with me always.
And for me, I haven't been touched personally. No one in my immediate family is living with dementia or any sort of memory loss. And this was my first time really sort of diving in into it. And the biggest thing that came out, and it's weird because I consider myself an artist, and the biggest thing that came out is not at all based on on art or music. It's to the line that Dr. Al Power says is too often people are defined by their disease, decline, and disability. It was, you know, I went in with preconceptions, fairly open-minded, but I definitely had some preconceptions that were informed by the stigma that is out there. And I learned 15 minutes into my first day there that everything I thought was wrong. And it's a reminder, you know, a writer named John Green always says, imagine people complexly. And, you know, it sort of fits in with the relational side of everything. You know, just don't define people by that one thing. You know, they are not dementia. They are living with dementia. And there's a difference. And that's what I hope people can see a little bit through music, through art, through relational care. But I hope, and mostly because I just fell in love with everybody and I miss them. But, you know, I hope that people can see that these people living with memory loss are more than what they're living with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, everyone. That brings our Q&A session to a close. On behalf of our entire team, I want to thank you all again for watching the world premiere of Music is Life and participating in our live Q&A. If we weren't able to answer your question, or if you have additional questions, you can contact us on our website, www.musicislifefilm.ca. On our website, you can also find out more information about the film, links to resources, our social media pages, etc. We also ask that you let us know your thoughts on the film by completing an online survey. You can find the link to the survey below in the description of this live stream event, and it can also be accessed through our website on the contact page. And lastly, the full film will be made available to everyone at no cost. Please tell all of your friends and family who are not able to watch tonight's premiere that they can watch Music is Life on our YouTube channel. Thank you and good night.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.